is a presentation of the Tar Heel Sports Network.
Carolina hosts Wake Forest in Kenan Stadium this afternoon for a non-conference matchup between these two old foes, which are meeting for the 109th overall time today. ACC expansion has robbed these two, which are located just about 80 miles from one another, of regular meetings since 2004. So a home-and-home non-conference agreement was made. The first of the series was in Winston-Salem 2 years ago, with the return trip coming today with a not previously scheduled game between the two added as a conference game last year due to COVID. Are you confused yet? Well, here's what is crystal clear. The Deacons come to Chapel Hill with their best team ever, and Carolina will need to play at a high level to protect its home turf on homecoming. The Tar Heel Sports Network's coverage of the 109th meeting between Wake Forest and Carolina starts right now.
People are asking about the pressure and the hype. We're just on a roll. Things are good, and I'm excited about it.
I mean, we're all holding ourselves now to a super high standard.
We've got the leadership.
We prepare the same way for every team. No game is bigger than others.
We've got the confidence.
I feel like now nobody can stay with me, and it just rolls into practice.
If you're seeing it in practice, it's going to show up in the game.
I embrace the challenge, honestly.
I just know I got to keep on going.
When we coming down, we plays.
Anticipate things more.
It's only going to keep getting better.
We're going to be good every year. That's just who we are. That's our program.
This is Carolina football.
Joffrey off to the races, and they will not catch him. Touchdown, Carolina. How? First down and more. How to the 5. How to the end zone. 40, 35, 30. Tar Heels will have it inside the Deacon 15. 25, 20, 10, 5. Trucks over a defender. Goodness gracious. 50, 10, 5. Give him 6, 4. Holy smokes. Light that bell tower blue.
Let's go.
This is Jones Angell. Carolina is in the middle of 3 games in 13 days, all against ranked opponents. Today, the Heels entertain the undefeated and 9th-ranked Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Brian Simmons was a 2-time All-America at Carolina, has his jersey honored at UNC, played a decade in the NFL.
And after a loss to the Fighting Irish, Carolina would have a great opportunity on homecoming today to get above 500 against the Demon Deacons.
Lee Pace authors extra points and will report from the chilly and blustery sidelines this afternoon.
Last year, these two prolific offenses generated a combined 15 touchdowns and 112 points in a 6-point Tar Heel victory. Today, the question is, with both teams featuring deep reservoirs of ammunition, is who can make a defensive stop?
We'll have all those storylines, plus interviews with the head coaches, Mac Brown and Dave Clawson. We'll continue our weekly pregame conversations with Carolina great Jeff Saturday. Get you ready for a busy day around the ACC and Top 25 as well. All of that and a lot more coming up. It's homecoming in Chapel Hill, Wake Forest at Carolina, and the Reed's Jewelers pregame show from Learfield. Good morning and welcome inside Kenan Stadium in Chapel Hill. Great to be back with you again. Jones Angell, Brian Simmons, Lee Pace. We'll be joined by Dave Nathan here coming up in a little bit. Ben Alexander, our chief network engineer. Jody Zoigner, our statistician and spotter. John Essick back in the Tar Heel Sports Network studio. Whole gang's here for Carolina and Wake Forest. Thanks for joining us on the Reed's Jewelers pregame show. Brought to you by Reed's Jewelers, your hometown jeweler. Trusted with life's moments. Maybe you're watching us, Carolina Football Field Pass on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for joining us there as well. Today's game presented by Window World, the Triangle's most trusted premier replacement window, siding, and door company. Let's get to it. Brian, Tar Heels enter today's game 4-4 after a hard-fought but ultimately disappointing loss last week, 10-point loss to Notre Dame. Another instance of Carolina just being unable to get a quality performance in every phase of the game at the same time.
And this seems like the conversation every pregame we've had thus far, right? So, that's why we're 4-4. It's the inconsistency. We know on offense we can score points. We've kind of been inconsistent running the football, and then on defense we have great moments, and then we have really bad moments like the 3-play scoring drive last week against Notre Dame as soon as our offense scored on the previous drive. So those are the things today against a very good Wake Forest team who plays with a lot of energy. They tackle really well on defense, and then obviously the scheme on offense gives you some problems, and they have some guys that can play, that can score from distance. So it'll be a great challenge for the day. But I always say you always want to get right against a good football team, and Carolina has a good football team in front of them today.
Carolina has the opportunity for that for sure today. Lee, despite that loss, there really were some encouraging signs from the Tar Heel offense. Carolina ran the ball well. As Brian said, that has been a little up and down this year, but Tar Heels really ran the ball well, distributed the ball to multiple receivers, which has been something that they have said they wanted to do more, and looked more cohesive up front on that offensive line.
Well, Jones, last week Carolina had 11 offensive possessions. They scored 4 touchdowns and had 2 field goals. Mack Brown lamented after the game and this week that you can't get field goals against a good team like Notre Dame. When you get in the red zone, you got to punch it in, and Carolina was really hurt by just a very crippling illegal procedure penalty there late in the second quarter that led to one of those field goals instead of a touchdown. Against Notre Dame, Jones, Carolina had 11 targets with 8 catches by the outside receivers. Antoine Green was the leader with 5. Justin Olsen had 2, and freshman J.J. Jones added 1. That's going to help the Tar Heels as they try and spread their offense out a little bit, be a little bit more multidimensional instead of just going to Josh Downs. And another thing is the tight ends. Last year, Jones, Carolina's Garrett Walston and Kamari Morales had 21 catches for 3 touchdowns. So far in 2021, those guys, and you add Bryson Nesbitt and John Copenhaver, they have 35 catches for 7 touchdowns. So Carolina spreading the ball out at Notre Dame to the outside guys and getting the tight ends involved. Add that to Sam Howell and his running ability, and it has become a multi-dimensional offense.
Yeah, just talking to Phil Longo this week, he felt really good about the progress that his offense had been making. He said he felt like these final 4 games this season of the regular season, he said he really felt like his offense could play well over this final month. And Lee mentioned all those tight ends. They're all good players and have been helpful. Just keep an eye on number 18, Bryson Nesbitt. He has a skill set that not a lot of guys have. He's 6'6", really is playing well here late in his freshman year, so somebody I know Tar Heels are very excited about. Brian, let's flip it around, and this is maybe a bigger question than anybody can answer, but I think it's the biggest question right now. Carolina's defense has been up and down this year. It has really struggled in the last 6 quarters, so the second half against Miami and then the Notre Dame game. How can that defense start taking some positive steps today?
One, stop the run. Secondly, today we will be challenged by a quarterback that's fairly athletic, containing the quarterback, keeping him in the pocket, because once you allow the quarterback to get out of the pocket, there's a chance for your whole defense to break down. You have to keep that guy in the pocket, allow the coverage on the back end to stay put. Once that guy's able to extend time, coverage starts breaking down. And then thirdly, we got to tackle better.
Yeah.
We got to be a better tackling team more consistently, and then just make sure the communication is there. This game, Wake, they want to go fast. They want to do a bunch of confusing stuff. Be simple up front. Try to get a feel for what Wake wants to get done early on, and then you can start mixing in more exotic stuff. But to me, I would be simple early on. Allow the guys to get a little comfortable, the ability to play fast, and then from there you can build on.
And the coaches have talked a lot about two things. One, stopping the run. That has been their number one point of emphasis, saying, if you can't stop the run on defense, then everything else just becomes exponentially harder. Tar Heels have not done that consistently this year, giving up 176 yards per game. That is 9th in the ACC, 94th in the nation out of 130 teams. So you're in that back 30% or whatever of the nation. So that needs to be better. And then the explosive plays. And we'll talk about Wake in a few minutes, but Wake is really good at pushing the ball down the field. That has to be something that Carolina slows down this afternoon. Lee, let's finish up by saying there's been some more roster adjustment this week for Carolina. Wide receiver Emery Simmons, defensive lineman Christian Varner, both entered the transfer portal, no longer a part of the Tar Heel football team.
Yeah, Jones, that's 5 players in 2 weeks that have entered the transfer portal, joining Josh Henderson, Clyde Pender, and Chafre Brown from last week. I think we've got 2 different categories of guys who are leaving, Jones. You've got 3, the 2 D linemen and Josh Henderson, who looked around at who the Tar Heels are recruiting, who else is there, who is coming, and said, well, maybe I've been out-recruited. Maybe I can find a better niche for myself somewhere else. With Simmons and Brown, I think it's a case of Mac Brown said today, although he was not referring to these 2 in particular, he said, we're playing now with 44 guys and everybody else is mad, or they're young, knowing that their opportunity is coming. If you were mad in the past, you just stuck it out and you were patient and you waited your turn and you just fought through it. So I think these guys just weren't involved in the offense to the degree that they wanted to be, and we're just going to have to feel our way through this. And it'll be interesting to see after this year, all the kids going in the transfer portal, who actually improves their situation, who turns out better. And that's going to be something that we're going to learn as we keep going through the transfer portal.
Yeah, and with the transfer portal now, is if you're not happy, you leave, right? And so these kids, for whatever reason, deem themselves not happy or unhappy, and they have an opportunity to leave. And sometimes it's for the better, and then sometimes they have to realize, once I go to another spot, everything is not going to be in my favor. Everything is not going to be candy and sugar, and it's just a lesson to learn. But the transfer portal is part of the game now, and it's staying the same way. The coaches can leave, players now can leave, and that's just part of the game. And we can like it or love it or hate it or whatever it is, but it's here to stay.
And, Mac Brown talked about with the name, image, and likeness. He told the players, worry about your ball, not your brand. If your ball is solid, your brand will take care of itself. And if your ball is not solid, you're not going to get the ball, and you're going to maybe look for another opportunity.
Simmons had 11 catches on the season and a touchdown for Carolina. Without him, and Justin Olsen had already been the starter at that other outside spot opposite Antoine Green, so we expect to see Olsen start again today. He took 73 of the 74 snaps Olsen did last week, so he played almost the entire game. We also expect to see a little more of J.J. Jones, the 6'2 freshman from Myrtle Beach. He had his first catch as a Tar Heel last week. We expect those 3, Green, Olsen, and Jones, to be the main 3 in the mix out the outside receiver position today. All right, we're going to take a break, come back, and, boy, a good opponent today. Demon Deacons, undefeated, 8-0, ranked in the top 10. What a season they're having. We'll take a look at the Deeks when we come back to the Reese Jewelers pregame show from Learfield.
Helps maintain muscle.
Big spots, weaves, open field, Todd Chandler, inside the 15, touchdown Carolina.
I took it on track, now I'm riding this boy. You stay in your feelings.
You know who, breaking free, Josh Downs, touchdown Carolina.
Could never come back in my family straight. I'm touchable, no, I'm too rich or too paid. Skeleton, cardiac, black diamond spades. Pull up too deep like a parade, oh, jealous. Try to fuck up my pain. Blade store, Aurora's culling in rain. I cut up my
John Copenhagen. Big intercepted Cedric Gray.
5 nights up, still popping and raging. The SBR still living the range. I want
Middle of the field, intercepted. Picked off by Cameron Kelly.
I keep me some dogs, always keep me in training. Tata logo on the back of my
first down at the 20.
Looking like space. Houston is a problem.
Now we'll run at the 5. took a lick, bounces through, touchdown, Carolina.
She loving the face, yeah. Facing, I'm loving that body and lacing. I love you, Miss Spider and Drake. Yeah, I know you got taste. If you let yourself take shots with me, if I love you, I drop you a pin to a time and a place.
First down. They're going to hand it. No. Van Dyke batted in the air. And is it intercepted? It is. Cedric Gray, I think, has intercepted it.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3. I'm a Tar Heel born, I'm a Tar Heel bred. And when I die, I'm a Tar Heel dead. So roll rock and line, roll rock and line, roll rock and line. Go to Hell State.
Gray day in Chapel Hill. It's cold. It's cold. If you're watching on the Wells Fargo Field Pass, I got my gloves on, my toboggan. Brian's over here talking about going to buy a jacket downstairs. My man's got his number on the side here. He's got to go buy a jacket down here. That's how cold it is.
As soon as the break, I'm going.
So we'll see if that weather really makes any difference. There was some possibility of rain coming in late in the day with a front that's moving through to the southeast of the area. It just doesn't look. There might be a little bit that has improved as far as the forecast here as of late. So hopefully rain not a factor, but certainly the temperature as cold as it's been in any game so far this season. Supposed to get to the low 50s. Don't know if we're going to get there or not today. Both teams with some specialists out on the field. A couple offensive players for the Tar Heels out as well. Wake just had a significant amount of players come out of the northeast tunnel as well to start warming up. And let's see what everybody's wearing today. For the Tar Heels, they're going with a unique combination. So they've never had this combo before in recorded history that anybody could find. Carolina blue helmet with the white NC on the side, the navy blue jerseys with the Carolina blue numbers and letters, and then Carolina blue pants. So it's Carolina blue, navy blue, Carolina blue for the Tar Heels. Wake, meanwhile, in more traditional look for them, the black helmets with the gold WF stair-step logo on the side, white jerseys with black numbers and letters, and then black pants as well. Let's talk about Wake. Brian, without hyperbole, I think it's the best team Wake's ever had, at least to this point of the season. Deacons 8-0 for the first time in school history, ranked in the top 10 for the first time in school history. They entered today an experienced, confident football team.
And well coached.
Yeah.
You know, they play hard on offense. They can run the football. They're physical up front. And then in the passing game, they can be explosive. Defensively, they're very sound. They tackle well. They play with a lot of energy. And so they're a disciplined football team that plays hard. They're physical. And those are the key elements that you need to be a good football team. And Carolina, like I say, will have a challenge today against a solid football team. But it's not a football team that we cannot beat. Carolina, if they come out and they do the things that they're capable of doing, running the football and taking care of the football, more importantly, they have to do that today and then try to create some turnovers defensively. This is a team that, regardless of the ranking and the record, Carolina can beat this football team.
And it just goes to show you how important stability, age, and maturity is in an operation. Dave Clawson, in his 8th year, 4 of his coaches have been there all 8 years. They've got 5 super seniors on defense. And get this, a total of 21 football players have already earned their undergraduate degree at Wake Forest.
Yeah, they have 9 of those super seniors, guys who would have been out of eligibility after last year but elected to come back, and a lot of those guys play, especially on the defensive side. And, I mean, it is very close to the same team Carolina saw last year, particularly on offense. Of course, one big player missing, Kenneth Walker, there in that backfield. He's having a great year, as you probably know, at Michigan State. But 100% of the pass yards, 97% of the receiving yards, 96% of the offensive line starts back from a year ago. So a bunch of guys who've played a lot of football. Lee, Wake is unique. We've kind of referenced this a few times. They are unique in their offensive approach. It runs a slow RPO-based attack that's designed to do a couple things. Get you out of position up front defensively and get you matched up man-to-man on the back end. And with that veteran quarterback, Sam Hartman, good core running backs, talented group of wide receivers, they have been spectacular on offense.
Well, how about this, Jones? Against Army a couple weeks ago, they scored 70 points, and they had 17 minutes and 17 seconds of offensive possession time. That's pretty high prolific there. Jeff Monken, the Army coach, said afterward, they're fun to watch, but they're a pain in the butt to go against. They're the master of the slow mesh. The quarterback rides that mesh point as long as possible. They've been clocked as long as 3 seconds on that mesh point, and Sam Hartman really runs it to perfection. He's got gaudy numbers just like Sam Howell. He's number 9 nationally passing per game at 335 yards per game of passing output, and he's got 2 great targets in Jaquari Robertson, number 5, he's from Murfreesboro, and A.T. Perry, the tall, gangly 6'5" receiver, who they're both averaging just under 20 yards a snare.
So, Brian, I have a question. Why is the slow mesh point hard to figure out as a defense, and why doesn't everybody do it if it's so prolific?
I don't know. I mean, I've never faced it. I know the RPO game is difficult anyway because – the offense makes you wrong, right? If you play the run, they throw the slant behind you, they throw the deep ball. If you play the pass, then they just hand it off and run it. But what I would do, I would be very aggressive in attacking that mesh point. I'm going to make them speed up their process. And for me, I would play more man on the outside and let my box take care of the box and let the coverage guys take care of the coverage. And then then that will allow you to be more aggressive. But watching it on video, like I said, never playing against it, it is confusing why it is so difficult to defend.
I would like to see the opportunity to have Bonnie Holiday, Greg Ellis, and Brian Simmons try and destroy that mesh point.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Brian, defensively, real fast here before we take a break, Wake has actually given up more yards on average than the Tar Heels have. But the big difference seems to come in 2 things. One, Wake has forced 17 turnovers. Carolina's forced just 10. And they have been really stingy in the red zone as well.
Well, 24 sacks, 8 INTs, and like you say, a plus 17 turnover. That is your answer. When you can turn the football over, that allows you to forgive a lot of sins. And Wake Forest has done a good job. And that's part of Carolina's problem. They haven't been able to turn people over. If you allow teams to run the football and then you can't turn them over, it causes you to have to play snap after snap, and you don't give your offense those extra possessions.
It really is that bend but don't break. You might be able to get a bunch of yards here between the 30s or the 20s today if you're Carolina, but then it has become much harder for Wake Forest opponents at that point to pay off drives with touchdowns. One other thing before we take a break, the tempo that Wake plays offensively is fast. They really do go quickly. We'll see if Carolina is able to match that today. Okay, we're going to take a break. Come back. You'll hear from Jeff Saturday and a bunch more. Dave Nathan will guide you through the rest of the Reed's Jewelers pregame show. Heels Wake coming soon in Kenan from Learfield.
How are you the ultimate you? to you by Reed's Jewelers. The official Reed's Jewelers kickoff time is 12:06. Reed's Jewelers, your home for fine Swiss timepieces, beautiful diamonds, and the world's most luxurious jewelry brands. That's Reed's Jewelers, trusted with life's moments. Dave Nathan welcoming you back to chilly and overcast Kenan Stadium. It's ACC football, although it is a non-conference game with Wake Forest in town today to take on Carolina. The Demon Deacons unbeaten at 8-0 on the season. Carolina again enters at 4-4, and for a lot of those plot lines and more, let's send things over to Jones, who is joined by Jeff Saturday, presented by IHOP. Start your Saturdays off with IHOP. Get 20% off a feast for pickup or delivery with code GameDay20. Get your fill, Chapel Hill.
Getting ready for the 109th meeting between Carolina and Wake Forest, and always enjoy our pregame time with former Carolina great Jeff Saturday. Jeff, thanks so much for being here. And 8 games in for Carolina, Tar Heels 4-4. Not bad, but not where they wanted to be. When you have to adjust your expectations, Jeff, throughout a season, how do you do that while still keeping your edge and understanding that you're trying to get better and trying to end this thing as strong as you can?
No, and I think your last 2 points are the ones you would say, Joe. So when is that you want to get better as a football team because the large majority of players are going to be back, and you want to be able to build consistency and also send the seniors out right, man. I mean, you it sounds like cliche, but for most of these guys, this will be the last time they ever suit up. And so as the season progresses, like you said, you haven't checked all the boxes on the goals, but it ain't over, and there's still a lot of football left. And for the young guys, man, from a recruiting perspective, you don't want to lose to teams like Wake today, right? That you're competing, 50 miles from you or whatever it is. You don't want that, right? Like you want to be the clear, leave no doubt to all the recruits in the state of which team is ascending and why. And so when you look at it, I think there's a lot of reasons to play, but I would say seniors would be first on my thing. Is when guys have put as much into the program as they have, you want to go out strong, man. You don't want to go out kind of floundering around, right? I mean, you want to flourish and end it that way. And I think, it shows you a lot about who you are when you haven't exactly met what you want, but you finish strong anyway. That's what Mac will be preaching in the locker room.
Jeff, RPOs, read pass option, they're a big part of Carolina's offense. Wake Forest has a really unique version of it that Carolina will see today. They've made their way even some into the pro game now. For those who maybe have heard the term but aren't quite sure what it all means, what is it and why are they so popular now?
Yes, I think it's just another way. Back in the day, you had triple option teams, right? And so this is just another way to get multiple players involved in the same play. And so when they're reading, they're going to have one player on defense that they're trying to single out, and it's going to give the quarterback a trigger of, should he hand the ball to the running back, should he pull the ball and run it, or should he pull the ball and throw it? And I think it's difficult for defenses because now you have to basically play man for man. You're playing 11 versus 11 football as opposed to most situations, especially in the NFL, you're playing 11 defenders versus 10 offensive players because you're taking the quarterback out of the mix. But in college, they do not do that, and you've seen that by how well Sam has done running the football. And so it's difficult to prepare for it. Wake today, like the way they do it, it's so slow. I mean, it's like guys are walking to the line of scrimmage, and so as a defensive player, you have to be so patient because the minute you move, somebody could be, they could be tracking you to make the play that you could be the read guy. And so defenders have to be very disciplined. They have to be very eye conscious, which means are their eyes going to the right spot? Are they watching their correct player for assignment? And it literally is just assignment football. And back in the day, it was a triple option. Now they want to put the ball in the quarterback's hands more often with the ability to throw and pass, and the way guys have really excelled at that. So it's definitely interesting. And for me, for a guy like me, like it limits how much offensive linemen can put their hand in the dirt and go smash people around. So I don't love it, but it is here to stay, brother, because it's hard to defend.
Jeff, before we let you go, Wake Forest certainly has had a terrific year. Deeks are 8-0, ranked number 9 in the initial college football playoff rankings. They are an older team, 20 starters back, 9 super seniors. What value, we talk about experience and age all the time. What value does that truly have on a team when you have guys that are that old that have been together for that long?
Oh, what a great question. And listen, when I think about this, you know how when you in college basketball and they make it to the tournament and it's all of a sudden you're hearing of teams are getting knocked out of the tournament by basically or people who you would no name type teams. Mm-hmm. It's because these guys have played together forever, man. Like, when you're talking about super seniors and guys on the team who have played 6 and 7 years together, man, the continuity and the consistency, you know what the guy beside you is thinking. And so it is a huge benefit, and that a program like Wake has been able to keep these guys together for so long. That's where the effectiveness and the efficiency goes. So it goes way up. And again, I think for us, as good as we've been in basketball, we know you don't always have the chance to keep those freshmen and sophomore around. They go to the NBA, and for Wake, not a lot of their guys have left and gone to the NFL, so they've stayed in college, which has just increased how good they are in football, man. And they've had a heck of a year. Hopefully, we can knock them off today. But man, when you're that old playing together, that's grown men and young against young men advantage you, right? And it should be that way.
Carolina, Wake Forest today in Kenan Stadium. Jeff, man, always appreciate the time, and look forward to talking with you next week.
Appreciate you, Jones. And go Heels.
Every sack is a sack to give back. For every sack the Tar Heels make this season, Food Lion Feeds will donate 1,000 meals to feed our neighbors in need right here in the Triangle. Dave Nathan welcoming you back to the Reed's Jewelers pregame show. Former Tar Heel Ken Huff is on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot this season. Huff grew up in California. He told me about his first couple of trips to Chapel Hill and how his Carolina experience changed his life.
Well, I was fortunate enough to have a neighbor who was a alumni from Carolina, and without me knowing it, he sent the game films from my high school back to Bill Dooley. And one week, I got a letter asking me to come out for a recruiting trip. I accepted it. I came out in February, and it was just one of those great February weekends where it was about 70 degrees. I was walking down Franklin Street thinking that, this is really the place to be. One thing they did not tell me, though, the whole time I was here that weekend, they never mentioned the word humidity to me one time. Now, in California, a humid day is about 5% humidity. The next time I come out to Chapel Hill, it's August, and of course, about 95% humidity. I'm thinking, what is this? I thought it would something that would pass pretty quickly, but it stuck around. So that was an awakening. But looking back, I never regretted the day I was at Carolina. And to this day, I've always enjoyed my association with the school and very proud to have graduated from Carolina and see the success they've had in the years in basketball and football and with the whole program, the lacrosse teams, the soccer teams. It's a great school, great athletics. And, again, very proud to be associated with it.
And Lee Pace, Ken was giving us a weather report on California versus Carolina in the summer months. I don't think anybody's confusing today with August or September, are they?
Dave, actually, I saw Ken Huff pregame. He was with his buddy Ted Elkins from those early 1970s team. It's interesting, the Tar Heels this year and next year are celebrating 50 years from those back-to-back ACC title teams in 1971 and 72. They went 9-3 and 11-1, so a lot of tradition embodied in Ken Huff in those classes. But, anyway, the sun is flirting with trying to pop out right now, Dave. The sun actually was out brightly this morning, and now it's overcast and cold and blustery. It's 49 degrees. I'm not sure it's going to get much warmer. The good news, though, it looks like we might dodge the rain that was talked about so much of the week that we were preparing for. I do have the waterproofs in the bags in case I need to go to them, but hopefully I won't. One thing about the Tar Heels here in pregame warm-ups, it is great to see big number 29, Storm Duck, the true freshman 2 years ago who basically took away one side of the defense or one side of the opponent's offense with his great play as a cornerback. He's had all kind of injury issues, but he is dressed out today. Don't know if he'll start, but I would think he will play. One player I do not see, though, is number 2, Don Chapman. We'll see if we get any word on his status today, but it is good to see Storm Duck back for the Tar Heels.
That's Lee Pace down on the field for today's Field Report, brought to you by Breakthrough Physical Therapy, the choice of North Carolina for keeping you in the game of life. We've got to take a break, but when we come back, Jones begins his two-part conversation with Coach Brown in the Continental Tire Coaches Corner. That's coming your way right after this from Learfield.
Let's go, Twin. Stay there. What you doing? Yeah. You ain't play baseball, did you? Hey, Drake, who won in ping pong?
No comment.
Huh?
You got lucky, you know that.
I get lucky, dog.
You know that.
Let's go, Chopper. Get yourself loose. Get loose. Let's go. Lock in and focus. Let's go. Reach out and catch the ball. Words are blank. Let's go. Eyes to the ball. Good. Right there. You got to make one miss. You got to make one miss. Boom. Get right. Boom. Good. Put the ball up. Keep the ball up. If you can't win right here, you ain't going to win down there. All right? Good, Joffrey. Good. Good. Hey, just shoot him inside though. Shoot him inside. All right. Hey, you're so low. Boom, right up under the chin. Bust him. Woo! Put him on the mixtape. He put him on the mixtape. Come on, GG.
Back in Chapel Hill, it is the Reach Jewelers pregame show. Again, under cloudy skies and temperatures in the upper 40s. Carolina and Wake Forest matching up just afternoon in a non-conference game. The Demon Deacons, one of just 4 Power 5 teams unbeaten in the house today to take on Carolina. The Tar Heels in search of their 5th win here in 2021. Let's send things over to Jones, who's standing by with Coach Brown for another installment of the Continental Tire Coaches Corner. It's brought to you by
Inside the Continental Tire Coaches Corner with the head coach of the Tar Heels, Mack Brown. Carolina back in Chapel Hill, this time to face Wake Forest. And Coach Heels looking to bounce back after that hard-fought game, which didn't go the way they wanted at the end against Notre Dame. What has been the focus this week as you and your Heels have prepared for the Deacs?
Well, when you start watching video early in the week of Wake Forest, you understand. You better not feel sorry for yourself about the Notre Dame game. There were enough positive things out of Notre Dame that we could build on, and the things that were concerns in that game we've got to fix, and we've got to fix those today to have a chance to beat the number 10 team in the country.
Coach, offensively against the Irish, Tar Heels played well. More than 550 yards, 34 points, ran the ball well against a good defensive team. What were some of the things that you felt like led to that performance that you would like to replicate on a consistent basis?
Well, Jones, we're getting healthier in the offensive line. Our centers, specifically Brian Anderson and Kenan Johnson, are both more healthy now than they've been. We had a chance over the bye week to look at some things and figure out why we're not getting the ball to other receivers, the outside guys, as much. So we were able to do that in the Notre Dame game a lot better, which again frees the tight end and helps the running game when you have to spread people out, because we were playing with 9 in many of the games earlier in the year. And Sam played so well. He got us in the right plays. He got the ball to the right people. And we ran the ball so much better, 233 yards rushing, where last year we had 97. So offensively for the last 2 weeks, we've played really, really well. 45 points against Miami. Kind of got hidden because we didn't play well on 2 series in the fourth quarter, and everybody's mad, including me, about not finishing the game like we should have. But 45 points, we really only played 3 quarters against Miami because we didn't play well in the fourth. So the last 2 weeks, we're starting to look like the offense that we loved so much the previous 2 years, and hopefully that'll continue today.
Coach, you talk a lot about the importance of confidence in the game of football. How can your defense find a little confidence today?
We've just got to continue to improve, Jones. We're not dominant on defense. We've been good at times. We played great against Virginia Tech when we didn't play well offensively. We played great at times against Georgia Tech, and the offense kept turning it over so much. We played really good against Georgia State. So there have been some good games. We played good at times against Miami. We didn't play good in the third quarter. So I think as we look at it, we've got to just continue to work. Jeremiah Gemmel says it the best, and I told the guys this week, when you get a win, that's a reward for all the work you do. When you get a loss, really in a weird way, it's a reward because you have to learn how to pick yourself up, have to go back to work because that's real life, and you got to pull together. And that's the thing that we've got to do this week to play well today.
Tar Heels will try and do that against Wake Forest. We will talk about the Deacs a little later in our pregame show. Here are Carolina's starters on defense.
Ravo Hasek, McHenry, Illinois.
Miles Murphy, Greensboro, North Carolina, Dudley High School.
Cayman Rucker, Hartwell Elementary. Damon Fox, Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Jeremiah Gemmel, Newton, Georgia.
Cedric Gray, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Aquarius Colley, Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Trey Morrison, Atlanta, Georgia.
Colin McMichael, Atlanta, Georgia.
Cam Kelly, South Norfolk, Virginia.
Tony Brown, 757, where the dog's at.
Kenan Moments from Lee Pace, author of Football in a Forest, presented by the Campaign for Carolina, creating opportunities for more Tar Heels.
The first 2 years of Mack Brown's first tenure at Carolina were disastrous on the field of play, the Tar Heels slogging to back-to-back 1-10 seasons in 1988 and 89. It was imperative Brown show significant improvement in 1990, and the Tar Heels were 3-2 in the first month of the season. But they were smarting over a 12-9 loss to NC State and the fact they had lost 3 straight years to the Deacons and former Carolina coach Bill Dooley. An early October game in Winston-Salem was the perfect setup. The Tar Heels on this night unveiled a new superstar, freshman tailback Natron Means, a 5'10", 230-pound bowling ball from Concord. Means rushed 24 times for 134 yards with rushing touchdowns of 1 and 2 yards and a 72-yard score on a swing pass from Todd Burnett.
Todd Burnett back to throw. Looking, going to throw back on the left. Got Means there. Catch. Means breaks it back. 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Carolina. No flags. A 72-yard touchdown pass from Todd Burnett to Natron Means.
The Tar Heels stymied the Deacons 14-0 in the second half and collected a 31-24 win. Mack Brown's program finally was off to the races, and Natron Means would pulverize the ACC for 2 more years before moving on to a successful NFL career.
That is today's Kenan Moment, presented by the Campaign for Carolina, creating opportunities for more Tar Heels. Well, we're closing in on 15 minutes to kickoff as well, presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Let's shift our focus now to the Demon Deacons head coach, Dave Clawson, who's got his team at 8-0 and off to its best start in school history. Coach Clawson, in his 8th year, understands winning at Carolina won't be easy, and he's also aware of how good the Tar Heels quarterback is.
Anybody who's critical of Sam Howell and how he's played hasn't watched any film on him. My respect for him as a football player has only grown this year, and it's not his numbers. I mean, he's thrown for close to 2,200 yards, and he completes almost 2/3 of his balls, and his touchdown-interception ratio is still good. The courage, the guts that he plays with. He's rushed the ball, if you take away sacks, for 800 yards. And he doesn't slide. I mean, he's a competitor and he's a winner. And I just, for people to criticize how he's playing, haven't watched film on him.
Here are Carolina's starters on offense.
Easy, Atlanta, Georgia.
Kieran Johnson, Reesville, North Carolina.
Jordan Tucker, Roswell High School, DeKalb University.
Awesome Richards, Philly.
Marcus McKeithen, Barnwell, South Carolina.
Garrett Walston, New Hanover High School.
Justin Olson, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Josh Downs, Slimy Little Dude High School. Antoine Green, Rockledge, Florida.
Todd Chandler, Montgomery Bell Academy High School.
Sam Howell, Indian Trail, North Carolina.
Great teams. that binds us to this place as to no other.
17, a Chevrolet, kinda wide as them good years get away. Before you know it, you're grown up and long gone, long gone. So I saddled up and hit the highway. Thought I said goodbye, I guess I did. Chasing down dreams like these, you'd think I wouldn't miss it, but I do. Carolina blue ain't just the color of the sky on the eastern shore. Ain't the shade of her eyes or the jeans she wore. Jeep with the doors off, my jersey she tore off. It was a Carolina blue, red silhouette sitting in the background. Got me thinking while I'm swinging on this wraparound. Front porch here in Tennessee, can't help the Carolina blue. Yeah, Carolina blue. Go Heels.
To the top.
second world as a Carolina professor of sociology and psychology major from Stanford, North Carolina. The homecoming committee would like to recognize each of these outstanding students for their dedication and service to the Carolina community.